What's up? And today we're going to do an alternative election timeline where if what if Gerald Ford won in 1976 and what would happen onwards. So first we're gonna do Jimmy Carter versus Gerald Ford for the first election. So Gerald Ford would win California by a lean, Alaska by safe, Arizona safe, Nevada safe. All of the states on the West Coast are basically safe, maybe except for Washington and Oregon. North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska. Um, well, Nebraska didn't split their electoral votes till later, so just Nebraska. Kansas, obviously. Ow. Um, Oklahoma probably tilt Republican. Jimmy Carter obviously wins Hawaii. The Deep South, because back then the South was very Democrat. Now some of these will be like probably lean and likely. Florida would definitely be tilt in this alternative election. Um, Kentucky probably went stays Democrat. I think it was Democrat. Um, Virginia likely. Ohio tilt. Indiana safe. Illinois safe. Actually likely. Michigan likely. Um, Missouri tilt. Um, Vermont and New Hampshire safe. Maine safe. And I think if he were to win, he'd probably win Texas by a tilt margin. Oklahoma would probably be lean. And it would be a very close election. Iowa would probably be tilt. Oh wait, didn't he win Iowa? I'm pretty sure he won Iowa by like a lean margin. So he wins Iowa, wins Jimmy Carter wins basically all of these states. Well, I'm pretty sure he also won New Jersey and Connecticut. And New York probably be likely. Massachusetts and Rhode Island would be safe. So this is the map. If Gerald Ford had won in 1976. So let's go up a decade. Well, actually, it would still be at in 1980. On 1980, um, the Republicans would it would be Gerald Ford versus Walter Mondale because Jimmy Carter's. I'm just gonna guess Walter Mondale. So, um, Nevada, Arizona, all the states that were safe during Gerald Ford's first term are safe too. Um, I'm just filling this Nebraska out just so it looks good. Kansas, Indiana, Vermont, New Hampshire. Um, Illinois would probably be safe under Walter Mondale because he's not really an exciting candidate. Um, Michigan goes Republican. Gerald Ford's home state. California probably lean still. Oregon maybe likely. Washington might be safe. Oklahoma lean likely probably actually. Walter Mondale probably loses the South, but narrowly. Mm, he probably still wins Georgia though. Florida goes to um, Gerald Ford, but as a trade-off, Texas does go to the Democrats by a tilt margin. Georgia probably lean. North Carolina probably lean too. Virginia safe. Ohio lean. Iowa lean. Missouri probably tilt. And remember, these elections weren't as partisan as some people today's elections. So yeah, Minnesota probably stays safe. Wisconsin probably likely because Walter Mondale's strength is in the Midwest. Uh, Maryland probably likely. DC safe. Delaware lean. New Jersey goes for Gerald Ford, and Connecticut goes to Gerald Ford. Um, New Jersey probably safe. Pennsylvania probably goes to Democrat. New York lean, and then Gerald Ford wins the rest. So this is a pretty weird election. As you can see, um, the South is very not red, while the Northeast is very red, and so is the West Coast. And Texas is blue. Um, this is before everything was so partisan, and the South voted more Republican because the Democrats got more liberal. Um, but then we go to 1984, where Bob Dole runs, Gerald Ford's running mate, and he versus mm, I can search 1984 Democratic primary. We're gonna say Jesse Jackson runs, and I feel like Bob Dole's gonna get trounced, but we'll see. So Montana probably lean, Wyoming likely, um, Colorado's likely too, New Mexico probably safe, Arizona safe, Nevada safe, California tilt, um, Washington likely, Oregon probably lean, or tilt maybe, Hawaii safe, Alaska safe, North Dakota likely, South Dakota lean, Nebraska safe, Kansas safe, Oklahoma probably goes Democrat, Texas too. Actually, I think Oklahoma would probably stay to the Republicans, but um, Louisiana likely, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina all go Democrat by a large margin. Um, Florida probably goes lean Democrat. Um, Indiana probably safe Republican. Um, Virginia probably lean. And then the Democrats probably win Missouri, a bellwether state in the olden days. Kentucky probably goes. West Virginia. I forgot to mention West Virginia is blue because it was a very blue state a blue moon ago. Idaho, Ohio, lean Democrat. Iowa, tilt. Um, Illinois, probably likely. Minnesota, safe. Wisconsin, lean. Michigan, likely. Pennsylvania, light, lean. New York, likely. New Jersey, probably tilt. Delaware, safe. Maryland, safe. Republicans win. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and then Democrats win. Rhode Island. I think Connecticut would go Republican, and Massachusetts would be safe. So Bob Dole does not do good at all compared to his predecessor. He basically loses the entire eastern part of the United States. Um, he does alright in this in on the West Coast, but um, not too well on the East. So he does good in his home state of Kansas, though. Um, so we go to 1988, where George H.W. Bush decides to run. I know that doesn't sound original, but probably because Bob Dole, George H.W. Bush gets very popular and is a very smart candidate, and he decides to run after Bob Dole to refix the Republican Party. So yeah, and that Democrat nominee um, would probably be, oh yeah, Jesse Jackson, because he won. My bad. Um, so George H.W. Bush, um, Oregon probably goes likely Democrat. California probably goes tilt. Um, Nevada likely, but Montana goes back up. Wyoming goes to safe. Oklahoma goes lean. South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado lean. Washington lean. Um, he would win his home state of Texas by barely, barely, but he'd still win it. He'd probably win Florida as well. Um, Kentucky maybe. Ohio, one of the bellwethers. Maybe even Missouri. Um, New Jersey would probably go back to the Democrats. I mean Republicans. Um, I just think Jesse Jackson wouldn't be the best president. Not to rip on him, but he was just basically a preacher. I don't think he would do a good job as a politician. So, just my thoughts. George H.W. might win Arkansas. Um, he would win Tennessee, maybe. This is alternate, so I don't know why I'm so like maybe, because this is just what I think. So, um, Iowa probably goes to the Republicans. Um, Louisiana maybe. Mm, I'd say Pennsylvania too. And it would be a very close election, but not a landslide by any means. He only won 68 safe. The Democrats actually beat him in safe states, but he just won more states. Um, so George H.W. Bush runs in 1990, where 1992, where Ross Perot is the Democratic candidate. He thinks he wins because he knows he couldn't win as an independent anymore. Well, instead of running as an independent, he decides to run as a Democrat. I don't know why, but I'm making this up as we go. Um, so Texas would probably be tilt in this scenario because Ross Perot is from Texas. So is George H.W. Bush. So Alaska, I'd say Idaho, Utah, Utah probably likely, Montana tilt, Wyoming um safe, South Dakota probably lean, North Dakota safe, Kansas safe, Oklahoma lean, Arizona probably is safe. Uh, well, on the west coast, Washington is likely, Oregon likely, California is safe, and Nevada was probably lean. Colorado tilt, New Mexico probably lean Democrat. Um, Iowa, Iowa probably goes to the Democrats. Um, Minnesota safe. Missouri lean. George H.W. Bush wins Mississippi and Alabama. Maybe Arkansas. Louisiana. Ross Perot wins Florida. South Carolina. Georgia. North Carolina. Tennessee. Kentucky. West Virginia. Illinois. Wisconsin. Michigan. Pennsylvania. While George H.W. Bush wins in Indiana. Oh, I don't think Ohio would go to him. Uh, Lean Democrat. Uh, Virginia safe. Delaware probably stays Democrat. So does Maryland, D.C., uh, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Vermont probably goes lean. New Hampshire probably goes tilt. Maine probably is likely. Um, and he loses New Jersey and Connecticut. So this is a realignment period where it starts getting more partisan. You can see the Northeast is heavily blue, while the South is more mixed, but the West Coast is getting bluer too. So, um, then we move to 1996, which um, It would be Ross Perot versus um Ross Perot. Uh, 1996 Republican primary. Pat Buchanan. So Pat Buchanan versus Ross Perot. Um, so Pat Buchanan wins Virginia, his home state. Tennessee, safe. Arkansas, this is when the South starts realigning. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Um, Utah goes back to safe. Arizona goes to likely. Nevada goes to tilt. Montana goes likely. Um, South Dakota goes safe. Oklahoma, Texas goes lean. Ross Perot's still probably in a win, but West Virginia goes tilt Republican. Kentucky goes lean. Ross Perot improves his margins in the West Pacific Coast and in Florida. He loses ground in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Um, he loses New Jersey. He loses New Hampshire. He loses Maine second. So this is a way closer election, but Pat Buchanan still loses. He does better in the South, though. And then you go to 2000, which will probably be the last alternative election I'll do this video. And if you subscribe, I'll do 2004 to 2024. So just subscribe and like, um, if you want it. But Idaho in 2000, it's gonna be um, John McCain versus uh, versus Al Gore. So one candidate changes, but I think Al Gore would probably still run. Um, so John McCain wins Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Virginia gets a little closer. West Virginia goes lean. Kentucky likely. Montana goes safe. Colorado goes likely. New Mexico probably flips. Nevada goes to the Democrats. While Missouri goes to the Republicans. So does Ohio. This will be the first time they're both wrong in my predictions. As Wisconsin goes back to lean. Iowa probably safe. Michigan likely. Vermont probably goes more Democrat. Maine's second flips back, and Connecticut's more safe. So does New Jersey. and New Hampshire flips back. So Al Gore wins 295 to 243 in this final prediction for today's episode. Hope you have a good day. See ya.